You ever have that fraction of a second where your chest constricts, your belly lurches, and you just know someone's in your home who absolutely shouldn't be? That was me. One still night, enjoying a cup of coffee in my living room, I heard it, the intentional groan of footsteps on the second floor. My place should have been vacant. My heart rate increased. Burglar. Taking the biggest thing I had at hand, a heavy flashlight, I moved quietly up the stairs. Each step boomed through the quiet. I made it to the hallway and stopped in my tracks. A tall teenage boy was rummaging through my bed drawers as if he owned the house. His face turned pale when our gazes met, but he didn't flee, he grinned instead. "You can't touch me," he taunted. "My mom manages the HOA. I can go anywhere I want." For a moment, I wondered if I heard wrong. He busted into my house and his reason was his mother's HOA authority? My blood was boiling. "Out, now." My tone was crisp, but he did not budge. He leaned against my dresser as if he paid rent there. That audacity drove me crazy. I took out my phone, dialing 911 in front of him. "Get out before the police arrive." He chuckled, saying, "They won't care. Mom says you guys don't count." Red and blue lights burst onto my block a few minutes later. Officers burst in, and his bravado quickly crumbled. He attempted to yell something about his mom's power, but the police didn't listen. Handcuffs clicked into place around his wrists as he yelled something about his rights. They informed me I had acted correctly. Nonetheless, tension remained. If he felt he had a right to burst in once, what prevented him or his mother from bursting in again? And I was proved right, because the very next morning, angry banging shook my front door. I didn't have to wonder who it was. Karen, HOA president. Sunglasses on even though the sky outside was cloudy, arms crossed, her blonde bob styled like a helmet. She emanated fury. "You didn't have any right to call the police on my son," she snapped before I'd even gotten a word out. "Do you know who I am?" "Yeah," I said matter-of-factly. "You're the woman whose son broke into my house." Her nostrils pinched. He wasn't breaking in. He was inspecting. As HOA president, I can grant my family permission to check for infractions. Infractions. In my bedroom drawers. I nearly laughed. She didn't respond, just pushed a sheaf of documents at me. "You'll regret this. I'll fine you, blacklist you, ensure that you can't sell. My son doesn't deserve to be in jail. He deserves to be in this community. Looked out for by me. You're just a troublemaker." I took a deep breath and calmed my voice. "Karen, the police didn't arrest him because of me. They arrested him because he broke the law. Your HOA badge doesn't stamp that." For the first time, her mask broke. Most neighbors likely buckled under her intimidation, but not me. She huffed, glared, stormed back to her SUV, and parked across the street like a sentry. That night, the payback started. Bogus violation notices arrived. First my lawn, then my trash cans. 6 citations in 48 hours. She was weaponizing the HOA to bury me. But Karen had underestimated me. I was not angry, I was documenting. Every letter, every insult, every confrontation. Scanned, photographed, saved. Because when she pushed too far, I'd be ready. Days later, while cutting hedges, I eavesdropped on her boasting to a neighbor. "The HOA does what I say. That man won't last 6 months. Either he pays or he leaves." That was it. She wasn't just targeting me. She'd been terrorizing her way to the top for years. And then, all of a sudden, the blinds were always drawn. The corner couple quiet about weeds. It all added up. But unlike the rest of them, I didn't cower. I'd already spoken to the detective on her son's case. He encouraged me to continue documenting everything. Harassment related to her son's arrest. Might make for a more solid case. And then the universe dropped me the missing piece. Her son struck again, this time in the Wilsons' garage. Except now, cameras caught him red-handed. Clear footage. Breaking in, stealing tools, sprinting away. The Wilsons handed it straight to the cops. That was the crack that split everything open. Soon after, an officer visited me. "We're stacking charges," he explained. breaking and entering, theft, harassment. Your HOA president believes she controls this street, but the law doesn't respond to her. For the first time in weeks, I experienced real relief. Karen's kingdom was falling apart, and her son had set the spark that ignited it. But I knew individuals like her did not yield easily. And indeed, she did not. The day it all fell apart began as any ordinary day. Her SUV sat outside my house, her unspoken threat. But this time, I didn't hide. 2 squad cars drove by at mid-afternoon. Officers approached Karen's door. I watched from my window, my heart pounding. "This is harassment," she howled. "You can't do this. I am the HO." But authority doesn't count when handcuffs await. Her son was dragged out first, still running his mouth. Then Karen herself appeared, grasping HOA documents as if they were holy books. "These documents grant me rights," she cried. The police didn't even flinch. They scanned the charges. Harassment, intimidation, obstruction, accessory to burglary. Neighbors peered from blinds, venturing onto porches. As if a spell had been broken. Fears that had accumulated over years dissolved as whispers became grins. At last, I heard Mrs. Wilson breathe. Karen's reign of terror was over. She was no longer an untouchable HOA queen, but just another resident in handcuffs. When the patrol cars drove off, the street seemed different. Lighter. The neighbors greeted me with a handshake, thanking me for taking a stand. And I understood. It wasn't for my house alone. It was for freeing a whole neighborhood from the control of one family. That night, the detective phoned. "Her son's got a new address," he laughed. "A cell. And Karen? Let's just say she won't be running any HOAs anytime soon." For the first time in weeks, there was peace. My house was secure. My neighborhood was safe. And Karen's notorious words, "My mom runs the HOA. I can do whatever I want," finally got their comeuppance. No, you can't. If you enjoyed this story and would like to see more dramatic HOA moments, like this video, subscribe for more true-life showdowns that show no one is above the law. The very next morning, pounding fists shook my front door. I didn't have to wonder who it was. Karen, HOA president. Sunglasses sitting high even in the shade, blonde bob freshly cut like a razor, arms crossed like she owned the block. She exuded anger. "You had no right calling the police on my son," she snapped before I'd even opened the door all the way. "Do you have any idea who I am?" I faced her glare. "Yeah, you're the woman whose son broke into my house." Her face turned crimson. He wasn't breaking in. He was inspecting. As HOA president, I can grant my family permission to check for violations. I nearly laughed. Violations? In my dresser drawers? She didn't respond. Instead, she pushed papers in my face. "You'll regret this. I'll penalize you, blacklist you, see that you can't sell your house. My son doesn't need to be in jail, he needs to be in this neighborhood, under my protection. You're not a problem." I took a deep breath, though my own patience was wearing thin. "Karen, the police didn't arrest him because of me. They arrested him because he committed a crime. Your HOA badge doesn't make any difference." For the first time, her bravado broke. Most neighbors likely buckled under her intimidation, but not me. She huffed, gave me a poisonous stare, and stomped back to her SUV, parking across the street like a vulture. That night, the payback started. A letter in my mailbox, my lawn wasn't up to HOA standards. Another stated my trash cans weren't in their proper place. 6 infractions in 48 hours, each sillier than the next. She was using the HOA to overwhelm me with paper. But here's the thing that Karen didn't know. I wasn't mad, I was documenting. Each trivial letter, each insult, each absurd complaint. I took pictures, scanned, and saved it all. She was trying to make a case against me, but she was digging her own grave. Days later, I was trimming hedges and heard her voice ringing across the street. "The HOA does what I tell them. That man won't survive 6 months. Either he pays or he goes." That was the final straw. Not just me. She had been dictating the neighborhood for years with fear. Now the blinds always close, the corner couple too afraid to fight over weeds. It all fell into place. But unlike all others, I wasn't terrified. I'd already talked to the detective working on her son's case. He instructed me to keep gathering evidence. Harassment related to her son's arrest could pile charges. And in perfect timing, her son acted again. This time at the Wilsons' garage. But only this time, cameras captured him red-handed. The tape recorded everything, sneaking in, stealing tools, running away. The Wilsons, fed up with being bullied, turned it over to the police themselves. That was the last piece I needed. Suddenly, it wasn't just my word against Karen's. It was proof, patterns, evidence. And the police were paying attention. The day it all fell apart for Karen began like any other. Her SUV sat in front of my house, engine roaring, her very presence designed to intimidate me. But this time, I did not even bother to close the curtains. I had a secret she did not. The police were closing in already. By mid-afternoon, 2 squad cars rolled quietly into the neighborhood. Officers emerged, calm but purposeful, and marched directly toward Karen's door. My heart was racing as I observed from my window. Moments later, her screeching voice exploded across the street. "This is harassment. I am the HO. But power doesn't count when handcuffs are on the way." Her son appeared first, dragged out of the house, yelling that none of it was fair. Next was Karen, holding her folder of HOA papers like they were holy writ. "These papers entitle me," she screamed. The officers did not even blink. They enunciated the charges precisely. Harassment, intimidation, obstruction, and accessory to burglary. One by one, drapes opened. Neighbors stepped outside onto porches, whispering, gazing. It was as if a spell were breaking. Individuals who had not spoken in years finally breathed. Mrs. Wilson, her voice shaking with relief, whispered, "Finally!" Karen thrashed, threatening suits, vowing she'd return more powerful. But the vision of the inviolate HOA queen evaporated. She was just another resident in handcuffs, her kingdom of terror crumbling in the street for all to witness. When the squad cars drove away, the block seemed different, lighter, freer. Strangers approached, shaking my hand, thanking me. For once, the street did not belong to Karen. It belonged to us once more. That night, the detective called. His voice held a satisfaction I could almost visualize. Her son's got a new home, a cell. And with the charges piling up, Karen won't be running any HOAs for a long, long time. I slumped in my chair, the weight of weeks of intimidation and fear finally disappearing. My house was mine again, my sanctuary. And no HOA bully, not Karen, not her son, not anybody would ever steal it from me. And Karen's last words, "My mom runs the HOA. I can do whatever I want?" Well, it turns out the law had a different response. "No, you can't." Do you like this story and want even more shocking HOA drama? Hit that like button, leave your reaction in the comments, and subscribe. Trust me, you won't regret what comes next.